Because clearly you could have been a starter. How were you so why were you so willing to embrace, okay, this is the role they see me in. Let me embrace this, get the job done. And you arguably the greatest sixth man in NBA history. Why were you so willing to embrace that role when you can drop 50 on a given night and knowing that you're good enough to be a starter?
To be honest with you, I got to a point in my career that I was tired of losing. I was at year 10. I'd average, I think, 20 points accumulatively for 3 straight years. And I didn't want to be that guy who's a good player on bad teams. Yeah, he's a good player, but he's just putting up numbers on bad teams. I didn't want to be that guy. I've always won ever since I was a kid. I won when I was in high school, won a championship, won in college, the games I played. And I didn't want to be that guy. And at that time, they kind of put you in a box. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's that guy. So I said, you know what? I'll do whatever it takes. I got traded to Atlanta. I remember meeting with Rick Sun, their president. He was like, you know what? We just went to the playoffs. We have our starting five in place, but you can still have a huge role for us coming off the bench. And I was like, you know what? I'm confident enough in myself, and I'm all about the team. Whatever you guys want, I'll do it. And so I didn't know that the second half of my career, that would kind of take on a life of its own. It's cool to go to camps and be in gyms, and the kids, especially that look like me, coming from my communities, are like, you know what? It's not always about starting. It's cool to be a sixth man, because they had Ginobili's and they had the Jason Terrys, but for whatever reason, it really resonated with them when I did it, and I think that's really cool, and I'm happy with the way it's turned out.
Did you ever go to a situation you're like, but the guy that's starting, I'm better than him. He should be coming off the bench. I should be starting.
I never had like that, to be honest with you. I just always said, you know what, there's a role for all of us. There's no big me's and little U's, and even as a sixth man, my teammates, the coaches, they treated me like a starter. They treated me with that same respect, so I never looked at it like that. I had to trick myself, when I first did it, because I had never come off the bench up to that point. So I said, you know what, mentally, I said, okay, Superman's coming to the game. They're just getting it warmed up for Superman. So I would do things like that to kind of trick myself to give myself that edge coming into the game. But I never looked at it like that. I always looked at it like, you know what, I'm providing. All the great teams had a sixth man, from Ginobili to Pierce, Ricky Pierce, to Kevin McHale back in the day. All those microwave, right? So all those guys, Jason Terry with Dallas. I said, okay, you know what? All these elite level teams have a guy with that brings that punch off the bench, and I have no problem doing that.
When I played, I wasn't the starter, but I felt that I wasn't the starter at first, and then I worked my way into the starting lineup. But I felt coming off the bench, it gave me a sense of the game. I got a feel of exactly what I needed to do once I got into the game. Is that how you looked at it? Because you got a feel, you're coming in at about 6-7 minutes into the ball game, you get a sense of the flow, you get a sense of how the refs are calling the game, what exactly you need to do in order to help your team win on that given night.
You nailed it. That's exactly what I was doing. I'm telling Chris or Joe Johnson at the time in Atlanta, like, oh, okay, when you play pick and roll, they're forcing you to your left, and then the second guy is going to rotate. So I'm giving them things to look at it and knowing when I get in the game, I don't have to go through that because I'm watching them go through it, right? At the time, I see that I'm a primary scorer. I know the defense is going to shift to me when I come in the game. They know what I'm coming in the game to do. So I'm watching how they're playing different things, who I should put in pick and roll, who do I want to get a shot, how they're going to do it. Oh, they're trapping the second rotation this time. Okay, so I'm watching all these things and downloading it. So I know when I come in the game, I hit the ground running. And my coaches and teammates, I think it gave them a comfort as well. Because starters, you may get off to a slow start. Sometimes you're looking for that bench to come give you that oomph that night when you're in your fourth game in 5 nights in Milwaukee or Denver, or wherever it might be, to kind of get things back rolling and get over the hump.
How do you maintain your confidence? Because you're coming off the bench and your job is to light it up. And all of a sudden that light, that particular night, you don't have it. How do you maintain confidence for the next night and the next night? Because you have a specific role. Your role is to give us buckets off the bench.
And you know what? The other teams know that's my specific role too. So they're trying to stop that, right? So for me, I think work ethic eliminates fear. I've always been a student. I've never been a know-it-all. I've always been a guy trying to learn. I don't care who it was from. A person on the street, a person who's worth $1 billion. I'm always trying to learn, educate myself. I did the same thing with basketball. I watched a lot of film, watch a lot of tape, see how I can be better. And so for me, I was always playing the game within the game and not just looking at the surface level stuff, but digging deeper to see how I can be effective for my team. And it worked out for me.
Explain the conversation the first time a coach says, Jamal, we're going to move you from the starting lineup and you're going to be a reserve. You're going to start coming off the bench. What was that conversation? And did you but I'm giving you buckets as a starter?
Yeah, it was Larry Brown. he was one of the first ones, you know, once I established myself in my career. Before I was even sixth man, I was in year 6 and I just started and averaged, I think, 18 the year before. He was like, no, I want you to be the you know, our punch off the bench. I think our team will be better. And I'm a really a big team guy. So I said, all right, well, he's like, I'm gonna give you the same freedom, everything. You know, so I had some really good games.
It was just that simple.
It was that simple. It was you felt a little weird at first, like, oh man, you know, a little shot to the ego, but you know what? I always look at it like a challenge. Like I'm into different challenges. I always feel like there's another mountain to climb. So for me, I said, you know what, this is something I've never done before. Let me see if I can do it. And I'm confident enough in my skills that I thought I could make the adjustment. It was more so mentally that I had to make the adjustment.
You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button to become an official member of Club Shay Shay, where we always do something for two something.